Mayor Bloomberg.
Commissioner Ray Kelly, Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance, David Cohen, Deputy Commissioner for Intelligence, and Adam Kaufman from the DA's office. He is the head of the Investigations Division. Yesterday afternoon, New York City police officers arrested a 27-year-old al-Qaeda sympathizer who was plotting to bomb police patrol cars and also postal facilities, as well as targeted members of our armed forces returning from abroad. Jose Pimentel, P-I-M-E-N-T-E-L, of Washington Heights, which is in the northern end of Manhattan, faces terrorism-related charges that District Attorney Vance will discuss in a moment. Earlier today, I also described this case to U.S. Congressman Pete King, the chair of the House Committee on Homeland Security, who has long been a champion of federal support for the NYPD's counterterrorism efforts. The NYP Intelligence Division did outstanding work in tracking this individual and containing the threat he posed to the city. The police also constructed a duplicate of an explosive device that the suspect built and then designated in a way that he intended to use his weapon. And we wanted to show you a video about the resulting damage. I should point out that our staff briefed the governor's staff on this earlier this evening, and I've asked Commissioner Kelly to discuss this case in greater detail, but first let me make these observations. The suspect was a so-called lone wolf, motivated by his own resentment of the presence of American troops in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as inspired by al-Qaeda propaganda. He was not part of a larger conspiracy emanating from abroad. He represents exactly the kind of threat FBI Director Robert Mueller and his experts have warned about, as American military and intelligence agencies have eroded al-Qaeda's ability to launch large-scale attacks. This case is also reminiscent of another lone wolf plot in 2004, in which two New Yorkers, angry over the treatment of prisoners in Iraq, plotted to bomb the Herald Square subway station. Like the current case, the Herald Square plot was uncovered by the NYPD Intelligence Division. And as with another case earlier this year in which a lone wolf plotted to attack a large synagogue, the NYPD teamed up with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to prosecute Pimentel under state terrorism-related statutes. Whether launched by lone wolves, al-Qaeda, or al-Qaeda affiliates, there have been at least 13 previous terror attacks since 9/11 targeting New York City. This would be the 14th. Because of such repeated threats, the NYPD remains focused on preventing another terrorist attack. We assign 1,000 police officers to counter-terrorism duties every single day, and this is just another case where our precautions paid off. Now let me ask Commissioner Kelly to provide details. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over 2 years ago, the New York City Police Department became aware of a follower of the radical cleric Anwar al-Awlaki. The follower, then residing in Schenectady, New York, was talking about traveling to Yemen for training before returning to New York to become a martyr in the name of jihad. That was Jose Pimentel, an unemployed native of the Dominican Republic and convert to Islam who lived most of his life in Manhattan. Pimentel is a U.S. citizen. Before returning to Washington Heights last year, he lived in Schenectady for about 5 years, where he made even some of his like-minded friends nervous by his extremism. He talked about changing his name to Osama Hussein to celebrate his heroes Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein. Pimentel talked about killing U.S. servicemen returning from Iraq and Afghanistan, particularly U.S. Army and Marine Corps personnel. He talked about bombing post offices in around Washington Heights and police cars in New York City, as well as a police station in Bayonne, New Jersey. As in other terrorist cases, Pimentel's behavior morphed from simply talking about such acts to action, namely bomb building. Pimentel followed instructions from Anwar el-Awlaki's Inspire magazine to first acquire the bomb-making materials and then assemble them. He relied on a particularly notorious article called How to Make a Bomb in the Kitchen of Your Mom. Pimentel acquired the readily available ingredients from Home Depot and other stores, being careful not to make all of these purchases from any one location at the same time. He wanted to avoid raising red flags. He used elbow joints, customarily used to join two pipes, as the main housings for the bombs. Right here is an elbow joint. This is what one bomb looks like. In the car explosion that you saw, there were 3 of these. He made 3 bombs. This small size can do that damage, and here's the clock that would ignite it. He also planned to affix nails to them as additional shrapnel. Pimentel planned to make 3 bombs to begin with, as I said. He had already drilled holes into the elbow joints to accommodate timing devices when emergency service police officers entered an apartment in Washington Heights at 3:30 yesterday afternoon. They were accompanied by NYPD bomb squad and intelligence division detectives who took them into custody without incident. The NYPD has been keeping track of Jose Pimentel since May of 2009, when he talked about violence, and more intensely in recent weeks as he acted on it. We had always planned to take him into custody before he could detonate a fully operational bomb. We did not want him to trigger it, even accidentally, and put neighbors and others at risk. That's why we had emergency service officers standing by to take down the door if necessary. Pimentel planned to test the effectiveness of the bombs by planting them in mailboxes and detonating them. Once his bombing campaign began, Pimentel said, the public would know that there were mujahideen in the city to fight jihad here. As the mayor indicated, Pimentel was a lone wolf. As you know, there have also been plots against since 9/11 directed against the city by Al-Qaeda Central and its affiliates, including one to take down the Brooklyn Bridge and to bomb the subway system. We keep a 360-degree perimeter as a result, looking for Al-Qaeda Central, its affiliates, or lone wolves to return here to kill more New Yorkers. We remain the nation's financial capital. We remain its communications capital, and a world stage on which terrorists can get the most bang for the buck. Thanks to the outstanding work of the officers involved and support from the district attorney, the buck stopped in Washington Heights yesterday afternoon. Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner, thank you. I'd like to now ask District Attorney Vance to comment on the case. Sir?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioner Kelly, Chief Cohen, ladies and gentlemen. The safety of our citizens is the primary responsibility of any district attorney. And for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, that job must include a commitment to and an expertise in terrorist threats both abroad and at home. Manhattan, as the Commissioner said, is the symbol of much that terrorists hate about the West, and this city, our home, will continue to be a target in the years to come. We are fortunate to have a police department that has risen to the challenge of addressing a global threat that focuses on our city. And we support Ray Kelly and the NYPD in addressing that threat. In combating this terrorist threat, as we all know, without special vigilance, the results will be deadly. Our office today filed charges against Jose Pimentel of Manhattan for conspiring to build a bomb for terrorist purposes and for possessing a weapon, a pipe bomb, that he is alleged to have intended to use to wage his campaign of violence. The defendant stated his belief in violent jihad and harbored a violent ideology. And you could see that from his website, True Islam. He posted articles on Osama bin Laden, discussed the duty of every Muslim to wage war against the West, and identified himself with terrorist organizations. He was a reader of Al-Qaeda's slick online magazine, Inspire. And inspire him it did. The bomb Pimentel is charged with building came straight from the pages of Inspire magazine, and his stated desire to attack our servicemen and women as they return from Iraq and Afghanistan could have come from an Al-Qaeda playbook. Homegrown extremists are one of the faces of terrorism that we are now facing. And foreign terrorist organizations attempt to recruit our own citizens to take up armed jihad against their own neighbors. The threats against us change constantly, and our challenge in law enforcement is to balance vigilance and preparedness against the preservation of liberties that define who we are as a civil society. And to do this, we will employ the tried and true techniques that have served us and our office for decades. We follow the rule of law, and we act aggressively but responsibly. In the fight against a shifting and difficult to identify local terror threat, there is an important role to play for local law enforcement and prosecutors working in coordination with our federal counterparts, which we did in this case. And we'll continue to work within the law and employ all the tools available to us to prevent a local terrorist attack and to keep our citizens safe. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Before taking questions, let me just summarize our announcement for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers. Hemos arrestado un sospecho que estaba preparando hacer explotar patrullas de policía, oficinas de correo y ataca a los soldados regresando a los Estados Unidos. Era un simpatizante de Al-Qaeda, pero trabaja solo. And with that, we'll be happy to take some questions if anybody has any. Yes, Miss.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any information as to how or why he became radicalized?
Ray?
I don't think we can say any specific reason, but it's a process that we've seen in the past where a young man does a lot of reading. Perhaps he does a lot of research on the internet, and we think that an event that really set him off was the elimination of Anwar al-Awlaki. That happened on September 30th of this year. Although he had decided, we believe, to build a bomb starting in August of this year. But clearly, based on statements of people who observed him, his actions became a lot more intense after September 30th.
Yes, Miss, you have a question?
Can you explain what this is right here on the table? This is a duplicate that the police put together, and can you also explain the photo right there?
This is the bomb. This is the white made free.
No, down.
And the hole is built in here, and this is the device. So what happens is you set a time. When the hand hits this screw, there's a full circuit here, and it causes a detonation. Inside of this device here is in this case, actually shaved off the material from over, I think it's 700 matches. And it's also mixed with sugar. This is outlined in the magazine Inspire. And his intention was to glue nails onto this device to make it act as more cracker. And the power of this relatively small device can be seen in the film that we show. Retrieved in that form. That's him taking the material off the matches.